Folks, it is December 15th, 2025, and we are here live on YouTube and Facebook and TikTok for Monday Night Nerd. Thank you all for tuning in. This is going to be a fun show tonight. We are going to be talking all about John Cena's career. We are going to be talking about the Video Game Awards. We are going to be talking about the Supergirl trailer. We're going to be talking about Saturday night's main event and a whole lot more. It's going to be a very heavy wrestling episode, but we're going to talk about some other things as well in the newsy news. Again, thank you all for tuning in. Let's talk about the elephant in the room right now. If I am not running at 100%, if I do not look like I am as enthusiastic as I usually am here on the show, that is because I am in a lot of pain right now. I shouldn't say a lot of pain. I am in pain right now. If you caught my Instagram stories earlier today, I pulled my back about 3 weeks ago. And it was rough, but I felt better. Since then, though, the pain from my back has now gone to my hip and now onto my neck. And it is giving me severe headaches all day. So I am not feeling 100% today, but I did want to come on here and do the show. If you also saw my other story, that I am going to be starting a full workout program because I feel like since the past few weeks, I've been resting way too much on the couch, taking care of my back, and I am losing a whole lot of movement and strength and all that. So I'm going to be starting a workout yoga program for the next couple weeks to get myself in shape because I was planning on doing that in January, but this is made me want to do it now. So I'm not going to be posting a whole lot about it. I'm not going to be posting every day being like, you should work out, you should do fitness, because I get that. Like, I grew up with that in my life. I had a mother-in-law. My mom was a former fitness trainer, so I was around fitness my whole life, and I hate it. I hate it. It is not the most exciting thing in the world. So, but I know that I would rather feel the way, feel happy and feel not in pain. So I'm 37. I feel like I should maybe, take some time and do that. So I'm going to be doing that for the next few weeks, a few months, however long it takes me to feel better. And then I'm going to keep going. So that is, if I'm a little stiff, if I'm a little out of it, is because I'm dealing with a headache. I don't want to take tons of medication and tons of Tylenol. I've already had too much today probably. So, but we're going to get into the show because we got a great show ahead of us. Video Game Awards. Let's talk about the VGAs. That was last weekend this weekend that just passed, and it was a pretty expected episode of the Video Game Awards. If you have ever heard of the game Expedition 33, then you knew that it was going to do killer at the Video Game Awards, and it did. It won 9 Video Game Awards. That is the new record holder for Video Game Awards in one night. It looks like a fun game. I'm not that style of gamer, but I've seen so many people talking about it, so I'm glad they did well. I know everyone's freaking out that it did win 9 awards. However, it is going to be eclipsed once GTA 6 comes out. I put in one of the TikToks came up talking about the Video Game Award record, and I was like, 2026 is going to be GTA's year, and it's going to be like they're going to be nominated and win awards for things that don't even matter. Like their NPCs are going to win Best Voice Actor and stuff like that. Like it's just going to demolish next year. So Expedition 33, congratulations. Your record is probably not going to last 365 days because I got a feeling that GTA 6 is going to win everything next year, but good for them. When it comes to other things that happen at the Video Game Awards, we had a whole bunch of new trailers, which makes 2026 even more exciting if you're a video game fan. 2 Star Wars games were announced. We have Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic. If you are a fan of the Old Republic series from the Xbox days, that is big for you. I was not because I didn't have an Xbox, but I know a lot of friends that were fans of that and are excited for the new one coming out. Galactic Racer. This is the first Star Wars racing game since, I believe, Pod Racer for the N64, so I'm excited to see what that is going to be, especially because that trailer had Sebulba at the end for you episode 1 fans. So that is going to be interesting. And it is not just pod racing, it is a general racing game in the Star Wars universe. So that is interesting that they went down that road. If you're a Tomb Raider fan, 2026 is going to be incredible for you because you got 2 Tomb Raiders coming out. You have a remaster and a remake of the original classic PlayStation Tomb Raider game, and you have a sequel coming up, which I believe takes place after the PS3 ones, which I'm a huge fan of. So I am excited for both of those to get my hands on a lot of Lara Croft in 2026. Bradley the Badger was kind of the one that everyone kind of questioned and thought was hilarious. If you did not see the trailer, there is a game coming out called Bradley the Badger, which appears to be a Badger-type mascot for an unreleased game that, has history in their world and now has to get back to his world. And the only way to do that is to go into other video game universes to get to his world. So there are clips in the trailer of him going into the Cyberpunk universe, going into the Last of Us universe, going into the Bloodborne universe. So I think that is going to be really fun. If that is what the game is going to be and that isn't just the trailer, I am interested to see what they're going to do with that, because I think that is very funny, seeing a fish out of water style video game having this cute cuddly mascot in that type of environment. It is giving me a little bit of a PG-13 version of Conker's Bad Fur Day, where he kind of just went into these different properties that he didn't really exist in. So very interested to see where that is going to go. And last but not least, as everyone knows, I'm a big Resident Evil fan. So I saw the Resident Evil Requiem trailer, and finally, after the leak, we are finally can agree and accept and be super happy that Leon Kennedy will be making his return in Requiem. It is really interesting to see how Lara Ashcroft, I believe her name is, or Claire Ashcroft. No, Lara Ashcroft? Can't remember her name. The main protagonist in the game is so stealthy and so, in the dealing with the horrors that she's seeing for the first time, and Leon is just running through a hallway with a chainsawing zombies. Just like, this is nothing to him at this. Grace, thank you, Edith. Yes, Grace Ashcroft. Total mind blank on that one. But yeah, seeing Leon just chainsawing zombies left, right, and center, like, this is nothing, dude. Wait till I tell you what happened in Raccoon like 20 years ago. I'm fine with this. So that is going to be a fun one to play. I really wish that EB Games and all the other ones that I've checked have sold out of the premium version already. So I think I'm just going to have to pick up the classic and get all the DLC later. But Video Game Awards was good. I know a lot of people, I think the host put out a poll of what people thought. They all gave it a D. I didn't watch the whole thing because it's an award show and those are boring as hell to me. But just seeing all the trailers and the updates was pretty fun. I had a feeling there wouldn't be any GTA 6 stuff, and I think a lot of people were hoping they would release a new trailer or an exact launch date or something like that. But seeing as they've had so many pushbacks, I don't see them doing that for at least until probably February, March. So overall, good show. Trailers. Let's talk about Supergirl, because who isn't at this point? Supergirl released their first teaser trailer. It was about a minute and a half, kind of giving the backstory, a little bit of a backstory of what's going to be happening in the movie. As they talked about in the Superman movie, Kara Zor-El is going around to other planets. She is 23. She is enjoying her early 20s and getting drunk on planets with red suns and causing ruckuses, and things are happening. If you have seen the trailer, I don't know if it was the Geeks & Co. or I can't remember who exactly was talking about, but someone brought up, and I agree with them, that I think that entire trailer is like the first 10-15 minutes of the movie. I don't think that her going to a bar and all this stuff is the entire movie. I think a lot of what you saw was very short snippet of the movie, and we're going to go a little deeper into it because there are clips of the big guy Lobo, which I'm very excited about to see him finally make it to the universe. But yeah, I'm super excited. I was super excited when they dropped the first teaser, like 5-second clip, because Blondie Call Me is the soundtrack, and I'm such an 80s fan. So when I heard that, I was like, perfect, James Gunn killer soundtrack again. So I'm excited for that. The only other trailer that really came out that caught my attention was a little clip that came out about 15 seconds long, 30 seconds long from HBO Max talking about what's coming on 2026. And we saw our first clip of Lanterns, which I am a Green Lantern fan for life. That's my favorite character. We get to see the first little interaction with Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, where Hal Jordan just throws Jon Stewart off a cliff in a car and is like, figure out how to use the ring, go. So that was kind of funny. I'm interested to see where they're going to go with this because there's not a ton of storylines where, from what they've revealed of the show, Hal is sort of the veteran, Jon is sort of the newbie. There's not a lot of storylines where that sort of is the thing, because if you're not a Lantern fan and you don't know the background, Earth always has one Green Lantern. It's only been the past few years, and I say few as in like 10, 15 years, where there's been a ton of Green Lanterns on Earth because they've all just kind of come together. Traditionally, there's always been one. So when Hal got the ring, when he went bad, we got Jon, and then Jon had to go do stuff, and then we got Kyle. It was always one or two. With this, having Hal be the veteran and having Jon be the student, it's a little weird dynamic, I think, especially because they both have military backgrounds, so it's kind of very similar perspectives on the world going into each other. I think it would have been better with like Hal or Guy, or Hal and Kyle, because Kyle's like the artist type guy, so it's kind of that the military versus an artist. It's kind of that art versus war type thing. So I'm interested because it's Green Lantern. I'm going to probably watch it sailing the high seas, probably, because we don't have HBO Max up here. But yeah, I'm very interested. I think we're going to get a little bit more in the next coming weeks, or the next coming months with that property. We didn't have this on the list, but obviously we kind of have to talk about it after the past 24 hours. Sadly, very sadly, due to the details surrounding it, we lost Rob Reiner last night. And his wife, due to their son. Asshole. Yeah, I haven't read a ton into it. I read a little bit about it. I don't really want to get into too much of it because it's a shitty way for everything to happen. If you don't know Rob Reiner, an incredible director, Princess Bride, Spinal Tap, Harry Met Sally. He was in The Wolf of Wall Street. Incredible actor, incredible director. And unfortunately, we've lost him now, which absolutely sucks. Like I said, especially the way he went. So we used to have a show. We used to have a part here on the show where we talked about, people that we lost, and unfortunately, we talked last week about someone we lost, and now we have to do it again. So as we used to say on the show, and we still say sadly every once in a while, thank you, Rob, for the memories. I will be watching Spinal Tap within the next few days because I haven't watched it in forever, and I need a refresher on it. Pretty Nerdy Crystal, isn't HBO on Crave? I'm pretty sure I pay for it. I don't know. I have Netflix, I have Amazon, and I have YouTube. Other than that, I really don't pay for any streamings because, yes, why is your thing Rado? Why? Alex, why did your thing Rado721? I was like, who the hell is Rado? Yes, Spinal Tap 2 is out. Yes, I have to watch that too. I'm trying to think. This has been kind of a foggy day, so I wasn't able to really get a whole ton of news written up before we go into the main event, which is John Cena. I think that's it. If you guys are here, it means a lot. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It means a ton that you guys are spending your Monday nights here with me. Let's kind of jump into the main event without jumping into the main event, because this is kind of more of a topical thing than the newsy part. If you're a wrestling fan, Saturday Night Main Event was last weekend. It was the end of John Cena's incredible career. That is why we're talking about John tonight. This is the first real wrestling show I've watched from beginning to end that isn't a Royal Rumble or a WrestleMania. I used to be a hardcore fan where I would miss events to watch Monday Night Raw, but I am 37 now and I have a lot more responsibilities and other things in life than watching wrestling. But I did want to sit down and watch this one because I knew it would be a tearjerker because I love John Cena, and seeing him not leave on his own terms, because he has come out and said, I wish I could do this till I'm 100, but physically he can't do it anymore. seeing that beautiful way of just going out on your own 2 feet was really nice to see. It's very similar to the feeling I had about Endgame, where Captain America getting his happy ending just broke me. So let's quickly go through the event. If you knew anything about it, you knew that John Cena's farewell was going to be him wanting to get some of the main stars on the roster to face some of the new upcoming challengers in NXT and having a NXT WWE feud all night. Only 4 matches, 5 kind of. Obafemi, the NXT champion, fought Cody Rhodes in a great match. I've seen Obafemi a couple times, and he impressed the hell out of me with what he went up against Cody Rhodes. It was a great match. The ending, I kind of figured something would happen, because having 2 champions, you don't want to kill either one of them. And Mr. Drew McIntyre came in and interfered and beat up Cody Rhodes, which, again, doesn't shock me because he wants to take out Cody Rhodes. Sol Ruka was very interesting to see because I've never seen a Sol Ruka match. She went up against Bayley, and Sol Ruka won, which kind of shocked me that Bayley has kind of been on a losing streak and kind of not really doing a whole ton, and having her fight for this match on Saturday night's main event. Having her lose to Sol Ruka was kind of crazy. I was kind of hoping she'd get a win and just get Sol Ruka a little bit of an appearance, but overall, a great match. Next, I know they can't do it because CM Punk's wife, but AJ Styles and Dragon Lee are the tag team champions, and I still call them in my head, they're AJ Lee. I just like, that sucks that they're just like, can we shorten it? No, we can't, because there's someone on the roster who has that already. Fought Javon Evans, and I cannot remember the other individual from TNA in a tag match, and it was a stellar tag match. Lots of high flying. All 4 of them just blew it out of the water, and I'm pretty sure AJ and Dragon Lee won, which was, again, if you were looking for that high flying style, it was incredible. AJ still got it, at least for another 365 days, because as he's mentioned many times in interviews, next year is probably going to be his last year. So we just had the goodbye to Cena. Now we're probably going to have to say goodbye to AJ next year. Other than the main event, just before that, The Miz came out and said he wanted to do something here. And R-Truth came out and said that there was, there's a big thing about the tournament to find out who was going to face Cena tonight. Miz tried to make his way into it by stealing one of the mystery balls, and tonight he was going to face the person whose mystery ball he stole, and it was Joe Hendry. Okay, he's not behind me. And Joe Hendry came out, did a couple moves. R-Truth counted the pinfall. It was a fun little spot just to kill some time before we got to the main event. And then we got to the main event. And this is where the fun begins. I have seen a lot, and I'm going to say it that way, lot of people who are not happy with this main event, or especially the ending of it. John Cena, in his final match, went up against the Terminator, I think they're calling him, which I think is a bad name for him. Gunther, which was a very Rocky Ivan Drago type style match, with Gunther just beating the daylights out of John, and John still trying to do Super Cena and come back and win. But in the end, Gunther got the sleeper hold on him, and John simply looks into the camera and smiles and taps out. And as someone who lived with the never give up attitude, a lot of people were upset by that, and I didn't see the problem in it. I've seen a lot of people complain that John should have won. If you're a wrestling fan for over 5 minutes, you should know that all wrestlers on their last match go out on their shoulders. Every one of them loses. Shawn lost, Flair lost, Austin lost, Goldberg lost. They all lose. If they have a final match, they lose. So I knew Gunther was going to win. It was just how. And a lot of people didn't like that he tapped. They wanted him to just be pinned. And I'm like, no. The way that you had to see the subtlety of it. And I know a lot of people aren't hardcore fans like I am and have been watching since 97, so I see these things a little better. The way he looked in the camera was, I've done everything I can. I don't want to end up getting hurt. This is a character, by the way. This isn't what actually happened in the match. I know it's scripted, but he basically said, "Look, there's nothing else I can do. I've done everything I can. He's done everything," and he taps. I was fine with it. They booed the daylights out of Triple H at the end because Triple H is in creative control at this point. But the goodbye was really, really sad to see. The tribute video that they played for him was really nice, especially since they put Vince McMahon in it, which is still in legal hot water. But it'd be hard not to put him in there, especially since even John's come out and said, everybody can have every opinion about Vince that you want. John would not be who he is without Vince. So, you may not like him, but John wouldn't have the career without him. So, and it was just a very honorable way to go out. He left his shoes, he left his wristbands, his armband in the ring. He walked to the entranceway, gave a salute, and said, "It was a pleasure serving you guys for years." And he walked off. It was sad, and I'll fully admit I bawled like a baby. I bawled like a baby seeing it, because it was just such a nice thing to see. Like you had people like Austin who had to go out because of an injury. You had people that just they go away. Triple H. He got his heart problems and now he can't wrestle, and he didn't get a final match. But seeing Cena go like, man, I kind of did everything I could. He's the 17-time world champ, is the most ever, and he can't wait to meet someone who's 18-time. Like it was a good way to go out. It was a very good way to go out, and he's still going to be a part of the company. Like, would not be surprised if he gets announced for Fan Expo Canada either this year or next year, because he has pretty much hit every Fan Expo except for Canada. So now that he's going to be an ambassador for WWE, it's going to be cool seeing him out in the public a little more. Plus, he's going to act more. So I would not be surprised if we don't see Peacemaker in some phase of the DCEU. He was in Superman. He's probably going to be in Supergirl or something. So good for John. We're going to talk about more of him in the next little bit. Woot in chat said Lesnar and Styles going to retire the same year. Probably. Lesnar's getting up there, and he's just wants to be on a farm, and Styles is getting up there too. You can tell. If you've watched Styles as long as I have, and I've watched him since his TNA days, like early TNA days, you can tell there's some things he's not doing. Like, he's still pulling off incredible stuff, but there are some moves that you're like, he hasn't done that in a while. And you're like, that's probably because he can't, or he doesn't want to hurt himself. So I get it. Cena didn't give a going away speech like Goldberg did. Yeah, that's stupid. I will fully admit that was a dumb move on WWE's. Like, there's still that little bit of WWE not liking WCW guys, and that was something that I was like, come on, guys. Wooge also said wrestlers like Gunther, as he's trying to protect the business, like Andre and Undertaker before him. Yep. And I think Gunther has got a lot of momentum going into it. I think based off him leaving the arena and running into fans and having to have extra security, I think that's pretty cool. As a heel, I think that's a great thing to have. People actually don't like him now, and I think it's going to help him even more, because I remember when Roman Reigns beat Undertaker, and Roman Reigns came out and just got booed to the point where he couldn't say a word on the microphone. That's the type of heat you want when you're a villain. So good for Gunther. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with it. Let's jump into the sponsor, and then we're going to hit the main event, folks. Folks, you know the sponsor here. The sponsor, my beautiful, loving, incredible, amazing wife. I can't wait, especially because I'm in pain right now, I can't wait to go away this weekend. My wife and I are going away on vacation for the weekend. We're going to a spa, which I could totally use right now. I'm so going to need a spa and a nice relaxing weekend. So I am very excited to go away this weekend with my beautiful, loving, amazing wife, who is the sponsor here on the show. I would not be doing this without her. I would not be here without her. I would not have this amazing house, my amazing family without her. So, hun, you will always be my sponsor. Okay, let me take a swig of water, and then we're going to jump into the main event. So as we were just talking about, John Cena, and as This is the end of his career after 23 years. I figured we should talk about him a little bit because I am a hardcore wrestling fan, and we don't do a lot of wrestling stuff here. We talk about a lot of cosplay, we talk about movies, we talk about comic books, but wrestling is a big fandom of mine. As I said earlier, I've been a fan since 97, and there was a stretch of my life where it was my fandom. Like, I went from Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, wrestling, high school, like end of high school. Like, I became an adult pretty much from beginning of grade 3 to like the end of high school was wrestling in my life. So I've watched Cena since the beginning when he debuted in 2002, and I've seen his evolution firsthand. And I just want to give my thoughts about different things about him because he has been at times a very polarizing character. He's probably been the most polarizing person in the company because I remember a day when everybody loved John, and then I saw a time when everyone was kind of mixed, and then I saw a time when everyone hated him. And then with most things, you don't realize what you got until it's gone. And then John went off and did Hollywood stuff, and then he would come back and he would get a big hero's welcome when he came back. So I'm going to break down. We're not going to go, career by, we're not going to go match by match. We're not going to go like in 2002, we did this. In 2000, like we're going to talk about kind of just the big things about John and what he's done over the past 23 years. Because, I think something that doesn't really get talked about is the 23 years. Because if you think of other people that have been in his shoes or shoes that he has filled before him, when you break it down time-wise, there's not many characters or wrestlers that had a longevity career like him. You had Hogan, who started in, let's say, 87, 88. By 95, he's out in WCW. So that's an 8-year career. When you're looking at Austin got to the WWE in 96. He didn't get big until 98. He didn't go until 2002. So that's a 5-year career too. Same with Rock. Triple H, 97, 98, he's in DX. Gets big of a career, but then nothing like 23. John is probably one of the most consistent, longest running characters that WWE has ever had. And as I said, I think the trajectory of his career has definitely changed. He's always, since he won the title in, I believe, 2025 or 2005, he's always been the peak. He's always been that main event John Cena. And I think when it's very similar to what Roman Reigns did when he came before the Bloodline, he was pushed, and he was pushed, and people got sick of him. People got sick of being force-fed Roman Reigns. People got sick of that force-fed John Cena. But there was a big section of the fans that really realized, man, this guy's consistent. He's always here. He has got the work ethic of a Clydesdale. He is always doing something. He's always on point. This is not a guy that is going to come in and not do house shows. This is not a guy that's going to come in and, I'll work hard on WrestleManias and Royal Rumbles and stuff like that. No, he did a hell of a lot. And you may not have liked the superhero, as Rock called him, the Fruity Pebbles John Cena of the multicolored shirts and, hustle, loyalty, and respect and all that. But it was always him. And I think definitely once we got to the tail end of his career where he started to only do one show a year because of Hollywood and etc., I think people realized, we may not have liked John at points, and I'm not saying I did. I've always loved John. But when you look back, you go, he never wavered. When he easily could have. When he was getting booed out of the building, WWE and him could have easily went, we should change John. We should go that heel Cena like everyone wants. But they always kept with it. And I think especially once we saw the end of his career and we saw him going into the twilight, we really started to go, man, he just kind of just did what he wanted. And that's pretty ballsy to do. Because you could have easily just went, nah, that's not for me. You could have went back to, the thugonomics John Cena where he's rapping all the time. It's like, nah, I'm going to keep doing this because this seems to be working in a way that people aren't really noticing now, but has given him the career he has now. And I think one of the big things is when WWE really started to focus on how much of an impact he was making on the youth, and more importantly, what he was doing with Make-A-Wish, which, if you're not a wrestling fan and you don't know anything about John Cena has made more Make-A-Wish appearances than anyone. And I don't mean anyone WWE, I mean anyone, period. Nobody has fulfilled more Make-A-Wishes than John. And that is something that I think it doesn't get overlooked, but I don't think people understand the impact of that. Because the Make-A-Wish Foundation, you can have every opinion you want about any foundation in the world and where the money goes and all that. And believe me, I've worked for non-for-profits. I've heard it a billion times from everybody. A kid comes in who is dealing with something that they should never have to deal with, whatever form it is, and they get to make a wish. And the Make-A-Wish Foundation will pretty much do anything. And they ask to meet John Cena and spend a day with him. That's kind of nuts in the first spot. But also, to know that John Cena has fulfilled more Make-A-Wishes than anyone else, that's got to take a toll on you as a person. Like, you have to sit back and go, wait. He's listening to kids and families talk about something that no parent ever wants to hear and has to deal with the emotional toll that takes on him. And he's never complained. He's done it with his head held high all the time. So, good on you for doing that. And it's especially good now because other people in the WWE have seen how much that impacts the Make-A-Wish community and the kids that are asking for it, that other WWE superstars are doing it now too. So kids are coming in not asking just for John Cena. They're wanting to meet, I don't know why, The Miz, or, they want to meet Rhea Ripley or Charlotte Flair or something like that. And they've seen what John has done and they're wanting to do it as well. And they're wanting to bring that into the WWE world and make WWE as the biggest Make-A-Wish Foundation or fulfilling that more wishes than anyone else. So I think that is something that WWE is very good at mentioning it, and John's very good at mentioning it, and other people are good at mentioning it, but I just don't think it's appreciated as much as it probably should. With WWE and John has gone through so many different characters, and I think everyone talks about John and kind of have their... It's sort of like a band. And I think Undertaker would probably be the best one to compare it to, where everyone has their version of Undertaker that they love. Like whether it's, the 97, 98 when he was the cult leader, or when he was with Paul Bearer in the original era, or, the Dead Man Inc. when he was riding the motorcycle. There was different versions and you kind of picked your favorites. John kind of had that too. When he first started, he was not Superman Cena. He was not, the Make-A-Wish guy. He was the rapper. He was the Vanilla Ice, but actually not the Vanilla Ice can't rap, but like he was the freestyle rapper who was going around freestyling in front of everybody. And that's what kind of kicked it into high gear with John. If you don't know, John started as sort of this creator wrestler is the way I would call it. Like he was a very generic wrestler. He would show up in shorts and knee pads and boots that mirrored whatever state they were in at the time. So if it was, Michigan, it'd be blue and gold. And if it was, I don't know, the U.S. football teams. But he had different gear made for that. And it didn't really work. And it wasn't until he was on a tour in the UK, and he was told just before the tour, hey, we're probably going to cut you because you're not really doing anything. They were on a tour and they were on a bus with everybody, and he went out and just hung out in the back of the bus with some other talent and just started rapping and started freestyling because he'd been a rapper and enjoyed doing that in his youth. And WWE, the executives, saw it and they said, "Do you want to do that on TV?" And he said yes. And next week he came out and he started doing raps and everyone was reacting, and that became his gimmick. He became the rap guy, and it really caught the whole WWE by storm. And I fell in love with him then because it was so fun to see him just rip apart his opponents before he even laid a hand on him. Then once he got the WWE title, he sort of transitioned into that superhero, the Marine style, where he, really saluted the Marine. Marcy says in chat, and he served his country as a Marine. Spoilers, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. He didn't actually serve as a Marine. No, that was the movie, was the Marine. No, he did not serve as a Marine. He did try to get into... Actually, let me take that back. I think he did do training, but he wasn't there long. He wasn't there long because he just didn't do well there. So I don't believe he was a full-fledged Marine. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't a full-fledged Marine. And then that's when after the Marine stuff kind of went away with the movie, that's when the superhero Cena came out, and that's when all the colored shirts came out, and he sort of became the, as again Rock calls him, the Fruity Pebbles John Cena, where every other month he had a new colored shirt. And then after that, he started to get his roles in Hollywood, and he became somewhat like The Rock was when 2001, 2002, when he would go away and shoot a movie and come back and do a little bit, shoot a movie, come back, shoot a movie, come back. So I personally love the rap one because that was the first one that kind of caught my attention, but I do appreciate... I look back fondly at the Marine version of John Cena because I think that's really where he found his footing as, I wouldn't say the best wrestler in the world, because I think even John would say he's not the best wrestler in the world, but just an understanding of what I am and kind of understanding that I don't just have to hip hop. I can be John Cena myself and not just rely on the gimmick of rap. And it was a good time for him to figure that out because this is when the PG era kicked in. And WWE really wanted to change their image because back in the 90s, back in the 2000s, they were very, very R-rated, very adult. They wanted to get more towards that 80s style, which was more directed towards kids. And that was a tough road for WWE. That is a very tough road, especially when you've built in such a good fan base of your older fans who grew up with you. And I think this is I know a lot of people look back at the Attitude Era in the 2000s and go, I wish we could do that again. I'm telling you guys, you don't. You really don't. I have gone back as a hardcore fan and watched some 98, 99 episodes of Raw and SmackDown. They're not that great. They are rose-colored glasses, to say the least. If you watch them in a montage and watch the clips of the best parts, like Austin coming out on the beer truck, DX doing their stuff in the ring, stuff like that, it looks incredible. But there is a lot of garbage around those moments. So I would love people to start watching some of these old Raws and being like, yeah, you know what, it ain't that great, because it really wasn't. So WWE wanted to change. They wanted to get more kid-friendly, because especially when it came to a business standpoint, because with the Attitude Era and those adult themes, you can't really do much as a business because you've pigeonholed yourself into, especially from a sponsorship standpoint, you can't do, there's a lot of sponsors that don't want to deal with that because you don't know what's going to happen from week to week. You don't know if you're going to get hot lesbian action on a Raw, or you're going to get some guy doing a crotch chop and somebody flashing her boobs in the audience. You don't want to have your name associated with that. And I think that's side note. I think that's kind of what AEW dealt with for a little bit. So having someone that needing somebody for that crown jewel. You lost Austin and Rock in 2002. You needed someone to kind of take the reins of that and be that center point who could be a kid-friendly talent. Like, even if, for example, Austin and Rock stayed, I don't think they could have done the PG era. You think Austin, beer swilling middle fingers, is going to work in a PG era? Not really. He did okay when he came back and did the GM stuff with Eric Bischoff and stuff like that, but it wasn't what it was in 98. So they needed someone different. And I think John was the first one to pick up those reins and go, I'll do it. And I'll do it well. And with the company trying to go with that PG route, he just worked. He completely worked, especially with, you could laugh at all the colored shirts and all that stuff, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. It was the best thing WWE could have done at the time, because with business, and well, I shouldn't say business, with WWE and other things like this, I've seen it especially with Kiss, the band, lately. You need to evolve your fans, because the fans you made in 98, who were me, who were 10, 11, 12, by the time you hit 2004, 2005, we're almost an adult. So what we liked in 98 is not what we're going to like in 2005, 2006. So if we hit that point, you're going to start losing fans because we become an adult, we get married, we do, adult stuff. You already have to have something built in for that younger audience, or you're not going to grab them. So by the time we lost Austin and Rock, they were kind of at a point where they were in trouble a little bit. They didn't have someone to get that new audience behind them, and John was the perfect person for it. Kiss is kind of doing that now they're going to be doing a hologram show and not do the live performances anymore because they're getting older and they can't do it. And I've seen a lot of Kiss fans online being like, this isn't my Kiss. And I always comment, you're right. It's not supposed to be, because the fans who grew up with Kiss, who are my age or my mom's age, they're not going to see Kiss anymore. They are getting older. They can't afford it, and they just don't have the time or energy to do it. This hologram show is something that has been proven in other countries and other acts, has worked, and has brought in a younger audience. This is how you're going to get the next generation of fans to fall in love with the band. So that's my comparison between the two. And with that becoming the super scene and becoming the main eventer at that point, you had a whole new generation of talent coming into the Federation. Federation. WWE's going to yell at me for that one. Coming into WWE, and he helped shape not just the on-camera product, but the stuff backstage. And I think that's something similar to the Make-A-Wish, doesn't get talked about enough, because back in the day, it was obvious that, the Ric Flairs of the world, and even just the general talent of those days, you did your matches, you went, had a beer, you went to the bar, you maybe grabbed a girl, you went up to your hotel room, bingo, bango, bongo, you wake up the next morning, you're hungover, you go to the arena, you do it, rinse, repeat. John wasn't that person. John was focused on being the best and wanting to do more than just go and party. And I think based off his level in the company, you have an entire generation now that doesn't do that. They've interviewed people like The Undertaker on his podcast, and he's been like, it's so weird. Like, everyone just kind of goes back to the hotel rooms and doesn't go out and party anymore. And I got a feeling a lot of that has to do with Cena, because they saw what Cena was doing at the end of the night, and that was getting a good night's sleep so he can wake up first thing in the morning and do press and meet kids for Make-A-Wish and stuff. And they saw him and went, oh, he's getting pushed for doing that, and he's getting a lot more publicity for it. Maybe I should start doing that. And now we've got what the older generation has coined the video game generation of WWE, where they're just going back to their hotel rooms and playing video games and hanging out. I don't see a problem with that. I do feel that if you were the older generation, it is something that is very different, but I think it's a better product because of it, because again, they can go do other things and not just sit around. And let's be honest, we live in a cell phone world now. You can't go to a bar and act a fool and not get it recorded. And then it looks bad on the company and it looks bad on you. And then you might get fired. You don't want to put yourself in that position. So I think John really helped with that. And this next point, I love how people don't realize this in a marketing world. And again, I know I'm a marketer, so I understand this a little better than others. But this John Cena, as I've said, is one of the most consistent persons. And the financial upside that he has brought to the WWE is so staggering. It is like, everyone loves to point out the NWO t-shirts and the Austin 316 t-shirts are the best-selling t-shirts ever and are still some of the best-selling t-shirts that WWE has ever done. 100%. But the genius of John Cena and the marketing team for WWE is so brilliant. Because every time John Cena would come back, at least once a year, John would have a new t-shirt. Which meant, when you're a kid, you wanted to buy a new t-shirt because you wanted to have the most current t-shirt for John Cena. And not only did you want the most current t-shirts, you had the most current t-shirt, you had the most current hat, you had the most current wristbands, you had the most current headband. So you're not only selling a t-shirt, you're selling a hat, you're selling a wristband, 2 wristbands, and an armband combo. I'm telling you, when I went to WWE when I went to the Elimination Chamber Superstore when he was here earlier the year for John's final appearance in Toronto, the only thing sold out was the John Cena t-shirt. I didn't even end up getting a t-shirt because I went on the Saturday and they were already sold out by that point. I got a hat. But it wasn't just the scalpers and people collecting the shirts. Every kid that I saw had the t-shirt, had the hat, and had the armbands. So you have all these things selling, and then, not just that, if you have all this new gear, well, then we have to make a new action figure for him too. So now we have to make an action figure, and now we have to make another action figure and another one, and the kid's going to want the new action figure every single day. It's bloody brilliant that they were able to do it this well, and no one really thought about it. John Cena had a shirt that said John Cena sucks on it, and it sold amazing when it came out. And the amount of people who probably bought that shirt and were like, yeah, I don't want to support Cena, but I'm going to buy this t-shirt that says Cena sucks on it. Guess where the money was going, dude? It's going to John. Brilliant marketing. And again, with the consistency of John always being there, he was able to do it year after year after year after year. It's even just this past year, every stop he had new t-shirts and new wristbands and new hats for every single stop, which was great. And he's even admitted there were other dates that were planned, and because production and all that stuff takes forever, it's not like they could announce, I'm doing, next year's my final year, here's my dates, and they start building stuff then. No. That stuff takes years to build. So he's come out and said, we've started playing this in 2022. We had to have runway to get that stuff done by 2023. Because with all those things, and this is going to the marketing side of it, with all those stadiums and all those new shirts that were coming out, they all were themed around usually the sports teams in the area. Well, when you're going to be using sports teams, colors and stuff like that, you need approval of the sports teams to use that. If you're a Toronto fan, recently when the Blue Jays were in the playoffs, a restaurant in the area used the Blue Jays logo on their marketing, and the Blue Jays went, don't use that because that shows a partnership if you use their logo. So if WWE wanted to use the colors of the teams, they needed to get approval of that. So that was all stuff that was worked out beforehand. And John came out and said that there are 17 shows that he was planning on doing that got moved or scrapped or whatever. So there are 17 sets of t-shirts, had hats, wristbands, all that stuff, that shows that never happened, but they were themed to cities. I think Houston, he said, was one. I think he said Atlanta was one of them. So he's trying to get all that stuff released by Fanatics, who does all their merchandising. So now he's going to retire. Fanatics is stupid to not say yes, because they just have to print it whenever an order comes in. He's going to have 17 more shirts, hats, and wristbands and stuff while he's retired. That is going to make him a whole ton of money. So fucking brilliant. And as I said earlier, with the polarizing of John Cena, we had the kid hero of John Cena, which had all the merchandise and wanted everything John Cena. And then you had the fans like me, not me specifically because I love John, but the older fans who wanted something edgier, who grew up in the Attitude Era. And that was the fun of going to watch John Cena in, the 2010 era, because you'd go to an arena, John would come out with the Babadoo, and you'd have half the audience screaming, throwing the babies in the air, and you'd half the people flipping him off. And especially at the ECW One Night Stand 2006, I believe it was, when he's just getting flipped off the whole show. Well, he was in hostile territory because it was ECW, but that was something that I think was very interesting, because you really did have a split of the women loved him because, well, he's a pretty good looking guy. You had the kids loving him because they wanted to be John Cena. And then you had my generation of fans who were just like, drink a beer, flip someone off. Like it was really interesting to see. And like I said earlier, they could have changed him. They easily could have changed him. But when you're selling that much merch and you've got that much of a fan base that there's literally nobody in the arena sitting on their hands, everybody's reacting in some way, you can't deny how great that is. There's not many performers that were able to pull that off. Austin had all cheers. Rock, for the most part, had all cheers. But having someone have that split and have it an equal split, that was pretty darn cool to see. And similar to Rock in his transition to Hollywood, I had a feeling that John would go in that direction at some point, seeing as, he has a pretty good looking face and Hollywood likes big guys with a good looking face. Going into the movies, I love that recently he talked about, I think it was Chris Van Vliet's podcast a couple weeks ago, or the week before, last week. He talked about his movie career, and I think a lot of people, especially a lot of WWE fans, remember the Marine movie was his kind of first big breakout role, but after that, he really didn't have a ton of good stuff. He really floundered there for a while, and it wasn't until, what was the comedy he was in with, I want to say Amy Poehler, it's not Amy Poehler, but it wasn't until like 2018, 2017 that he really started to get some good acting roles and was able to kind of get his foot in the door where he needed to. I think Rock kind of, I want to say, gave the impression that all WWE guys would kind of have that rocket ship trajectory, but John floundered for a bit, and he's admitted he kind of deserved it because he wasn't as good as he had thought he was, or that a lot of WWE was projecting him to be. But I think he's definitely gotten a lot better with, the Peacemaker stuff. Ricky Stenicki is a great movie. If you've not seen Ricky Stenicki on, I think it's Amazon Prime, it is a funny movie, and I didn't think it'd be as funny as it is. He plays a Hollywood, sort of a Las Vegas celebrity that really isn't that great. And there's a group of guys who have sort of a pact that if they ever want to get away with something, Ricky Stenicki, who is an old high school friend of theirs, has stuff to do, so that allows them to go off. They can just tell their wives, I'm going to see Ricky. And they have this whole backstory with them, and then they finally realize their wives have to meet Ricky Stenicki, and they find John, and John becomes Ricky Stenicki, and it's actually a really, really funny movie. He's some of the lines John pulls is actually really, really good. Daddy's Home, as Marcy said, is another great movie that he's in. I've seen the first one. I haven't seen the second one yet. But with the Peacemaker and kind of funny enough, I think he's probably the most well-known person in the DC universe right now, and he hasn't really done a ton of it. He's only done 2 seasons of a TV show. It is really bringing WWE to the forefront. You know, him, Batista are really holding that WWE flag of not every wrestler is going to be, you know, the Hulk Hogan of Suburban Commando, and, you know, The Rock is good, but, you know, I think Rock is good in certain roles. I don't think Rock is as great across the board as he thinks he is and WWE thinks he is. I've seen clips of The Smashing Machine, and I'm not excited to see that movie at all. I got a feeling he's going to win an award for it, though. Whatever. But I think Dave and John have kind of held that flag of like, man, WWE wrestlers can kind of do some pretty good stuff. David in chat says John succeeded in what he wanted to do. Look at the heat Gunther's taking. Yeah, he is. He's good. He's good at giving Gunther that heat. And I'm glad Gunther's gonna run. Hopefully, as of tonight, Gunther's gonna run with it. And I think going back with John and kind of handling that fame and what he's been able to do with it. It really shows the character of John, and I think that's something that really needs to be applauded, because there have been several WWE superstars over the years who have had that spotlight and have been the face of the company and have done so many amazing things for WWE. Like, I'm not putting down The Rock, I'm not putting down Hogan, I'm not putting down anybody that has become the face of the WWE or any wrestling company at that point. But John's professionalism, his schedule of, like I said, going to bed early, getting up, doing press all day, going and doing Make-A-Wish, going media, doing all these things, and then also having a full-time schedule. Like, there, by the way, folks, for those who aren't big WWE fans, John did 36 dates this year. He did 36 dates in his final year as an active wrestler in WWE. He said recently on a podcast, he was expecting to do a full schedule. Like, he was expecting to do 200 dates. And that would have been nuts. That would have been nuts at his age. He's 48, and he's going, I'm willing to do 200 plus dates in a year. Like, I don't see many WWE talent doing that, even younger than John. So the way he has handled not only the fame of it, but also everything that comes along with being the guy for WWE for like 20 plus years, hats off to him. Hats off to him, and being able to do that and not get hurt, not really have a bad day, not really being able to, you know, there's no publicity out there of, you know, John shoved someone in a bar or something like that, or John hit on somebody, you know. And he's just, as David says in chat, John's just a good guy. And I think there was somebody who posted on Instagram the video of his tribute, and it said, someone layered over top of it, "We made the right guy famous." And I think that's the best way to say it, is he's a good guy, and he shows that good guys can win. So, what does this mean? What does this mean that after 22 years, John is officially off the road and is no longer in-ring talent? It's interesting. It is a very interesting place that WWE is in, because it's very similar to when John started. It is very similar to when John Cena started. When John started, you still had Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, Triple H, The Rock to a point. You still had a lot of veterans. You didn't have you had lower talent, but not a ton. We're kind of in that world now with WWE. We've got the CM Punks, we've got Cody Rhodes, we've got Roman Reigns, we've got a lot of main talent, but no one's really the figurehead right now. Cody was for a year. He's not really been the past year. Roman was for a little while. He's not anymore. We really don't have a figurehead of the company. And I'm not saying they need it, though. And I think a lot of people think that there needs to be that crown jewel, pun intended, WWE reference. They need to have that one person to run the company. I don't think so. I think in a world now where we've got, how many social media platforms, we have so many channels to watch, so many different ways to get your name out there. I don't think WWE needs that one person anymore. I think they can do it with a group. You've got your Rhea Ripleys for that type of fan. You've got your Charlotte Flairs for that kind of fan. You've got your CM Punks for that type of fan. You've got your Cody Rhodes for the kid fan. You've got all these different people that sort of take each section of your fandom. And each one of them can kind of be lifted at the same time. So I don't think they need a John Cena. And that's a culture thing that we've become that way. But I also think John has been able to showcase and bring light to the WWE as so much over the past 20 years that I don't think they need that person anymore. I think a group of them can do it. David said, could it be Gunther? It has been a while since we've had a heel champ. I think we can have a heel champ. 100% we can have a heel champ. And I think Gunther could do it. I think Gunther did it when he was world champ. But I'm speaking more of that generational talent. Like you had your Hogans that were, the figurehead of the company for a certain amount of time. You had your Bret Harts for a little while. Then you had your Stone Colds. Then you had Rock, and then you had Triple H to a point. Then you had Cena up until a certain point. Then you had Roman, who once you hit that Roman Cody Rhodes era, Roman Lesnar around that era, it sort of became. You didn't need that figurehead anymore. You had a whole group of people, and especially now, I don't think you need it. I think you're good with a group. I think the people who like Rhea Ripley will tune in to watch Rhea Ripley. I think the people who want to watch the kids who want to be Cody Rhodes and have the big jackets and stuff. I think you have that. I think if you want pure wrestling, you've got your Seth Rollins, you've got your CM Punks. If you want your high flying, you've got your AJs, you've got your Dragon Lees. You've got all these people, and in a world now where you can find anything anywhere and everything is so easily digestible, we have a generation now who probably has no interest in watching a 9 to 5, 7 to 9, whatever wrestling show. I think we're coming into a generation that is perfectly fine going onto a YouTube, going on to a Netflix and fast forwarding or just watching their favorite superstar and going, okay, you want to watch the Cody Rhodes match? Let's watch the Cody Rhodes match. Cool. Boom. Fast forward. Cody Rhodes is again. Cool. We'll watch that. Boom. Done. So I don't think you're going to have that figurehead. I think your people are going to fall in love with these different characters, and it's all going to the high tide will raise all boats. And I think you're going to have a whole generation that's just going to love their certain superstars, and who will find other superstars through the interaction of the superstars that they like. That's just my thought. I could be wrong. Maybe there is a talent sitting there in the wings who is going to take WWE by storm, and he's going to be the next John Cena. Who knows? But that is it tonight. I greatly appreciate you folks tuning in. It means a lot to me, especially on the 15th of December. You guys are getting into the holiday season, and I completely understand. This is kind of the last big episode of the year. We're going to come back next week on the 22nd, and we're going to do sort of our year-end wrap-up episode. We're just going to talk about the year, what's been, talk about conventions that have happened over the years. We're going to do a recap of cosplays, what we're looking into 2026. I've already kind of built out 2026 when it comes to episodes, leaving a couple blanks to maybe fill in some holes, but we got some fun ahead of us in 2026. If you're still here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you can keep informed. If you guys want to come back next week and celebrate the holidays with me for an hour, I greatly appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Hopefully I'm feeling better after coming back from the spa. If I don't, the spa failed, because at this point, anything's going to feel better than how I feel right now. Yeah. I think, thank you, David. I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, we'll be back next week. We're going to talk about the holidays, get ready for taking a break, and then we'll be back in January on the 5th for the first episode of 2026. That'll be episode 130. I can't believe I've been doing this for 130 episodes. I'm going to let you guys get out of here. We've gone over. It's 8:04. Have yourselves a good night. Enjoy the weather. It's supposed to warm up a little bit. It was snowing like crazy today here in the Hammer, but hopefully it's going to warm up a little bit because I've got some spray painting to do for some 3D prints. So have yourselves a good night, folks. I will get you out of here. Love you all. We'll talk soon. See ya. Hey, thanks for watching Monday Night Nerd. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe button, like this content, and follow on social media for even more nerdy fun. See you soon.